Emotions and sentiments. In the corresponding video of 8 impediments, the different emotions that impede the progress of a sadhak or practitioner, with different forms of Ganesha helping remove these, were briefly touched upon. Here, we will see how the chitta faculty of the mind of Purush is involved, and how the 8 emotions and sentiments evolve from ignorance. The chitta faculty of the mind is primarily responsible in respect to the generation of emotions and sentiments. Only with the help of chitta, the Purush identifies an experience to be either pleasant or unpleasant. The 8 impediments arise in the chitta, unfurling the feelings that permeate the Purush due to ignorance and existence of duality. The ignorance is what causes a veil for the dualities of both happiness and pain to be experienced by the Purush. Spiral of emotions and sentiments. Attachment follows happiness. Attachment gives birth to desire to experience happiness again. Unchecked desire gives birth to greed. The feeding of greed develops the feeling of pride. Once pride sets in, envy does not take long to find its place. Disillusionment as a perception of illusion, that is, false idea, follows envy. Anger trails closely at the heels of disillusionment. Aversion is that which follows anger, directed at unrequited desire. Pain is a resultant of aversion. Observe that happiness passing through the 8 emotions gives way to pain. Let us understand these emotions with the help of a story. The story of the eggplant. A king was gifted an eggplant by a farmer and happily relished its taste. He grew attached to its unique flavor. The king desired to eat it again and to continue enjoying it. He ordered the palace gardener to grow the eggplant. This allowed him intermittently to get the vegetable. In order to enjoy the eggplant in every meal, the king passed a law for only eggplants to be grown in his entire kingdom, by which he expected to ensure a constant flow of happiness from the eggplant. This represented his greed. The king was filled with pride when he saw the eggplants growing abundantly during his tours of the kingdom. Every single meal had eggplant, and the king affixed a crown on it, each one of the eggplants. By and by, he was invited to a neighboring kingdom to visit. On his visit, he was served a brinjal and was filled with envy at savoring a smaller, tastier version of the eggplant. He requested the neighboring king to let him have a few seeds to grow within his own kingdom. But the neighboring king refused. Disillusionment set in when the king realized that the now abundantly available eggplant is not what he desires anymore, but the brinjal which is being denied. On his return to the kingdom, the king began to feign a stomachache to avoid eating the eggplant. However, in time, additionally, anger began to build up within the king whenever he looked at the eggplant, as it was a constant reminder of the brinjal that he could not have. So whenever the king consumed eggplant, he partook the gnawing accompanying anger also. Repeatedly eating the same eggplant day in and day out exasperated the situation. And as nothing else was allowed to be grown in his kingdom, due to the law he had passed earlier, he had no other recourse. Soon the king developed a stomachache due to the habitual anger burning within him. Eventually, the king grew an aversion towards the eggplant vegetable and decided to drive a nail on the head of the crown of the eggplant and ordered it not to be grown in future. The memory of the eggplant was now sufficient to cause pain to the king. So in this way, we see how happiness turns to pain over time. External Prakriti versus internal Purush. The Purush seeks happiness in a new object, relationship, career, pathway, etc., which are part of the Prakriti, and the same spiral begins. Happiness and pain are the dual opposite sides of the coin. When knowledge dispels ignorance, then the dualities of happiness and pain cease to exist. The result, Shivoham, is realized.